Now, number 2 in order is our Madame from Akwa, Ibom. She's a director in the Ministry of Economic Planning, Manpower, and Labor. Please, let's welcome to the stage Mrs. Akwa.
I am Utwa Akwa, presenting on behalf of Akwa Ibom State. The team is led by the Honorable Commissioner, as was introduced earlier. Other members of the team are the State Director of Planning, here represented, the State Director of Program Monitoring, and the man in charge of the Information Unit. Background: since the state was created in 23rd September 1987, economic development has been pursued as a deliberate process, achieving through proper implementation of well-laid-out plans and strategies. The first medium-term strategic plan was the Akwa Ibom State Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy, AKCT1, which was a state vision of the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy, NEET. At the expiration of the plan, AKCT2 was developed to continue the vision of the AKCT1. In 2009, Nigeria launched the National Vision 2020, which was aimed at positioning the country among the first top 20 economies in the world by the year 2020. And the different tiers of government were expected to develop and implement policies and programs that will rapidly facilitate the attainment of the declared economic objectives of Vision 2020. The state version of National Implementation Plan 1, which was largely expressed in its medium-term priority projects and programs, consolidated on the gains of the AKCT with clear emphasis on developing critical infrastructure as priority and, in particular, completing key projects of the immediate past administration. Still on the background, the current plan is the Akwa Ibom State Strategic Framework for Economic Transformation, 2018 to 2021. It sets out to build on the strong gains of the 5-point agenda of the present administration and also promote the achievement of the economic recovery and growth plans of the federal government and the sustainable development goals at the international level. This will allow for consistency in the state's growth and full realization of the global target on development. Problem definition. Why do we need a 30-year-old plan in the states? It is worthy to note that all the development plans listed earlier did not have sufficient long tenures for implementation. All those plans were a medium-term plan, which has short-term implementation. This impacted negatively on the plan discipline, continuity, sustainability of policies, and rollover of uncompleted projects irrespective of the government in power. This was further made difficult due to the absence of legislative backing from the House of Assembly. A long-term 30-year-old plan will serve as a roadmap for successive administration to build on and continue from where each administration ends. This will ensure policy consistency, sustainability in economic and infrastructural development. Still on the problem, the state currently has in place the Akwa Ibom State Rural Master Plan, which aims at further driving socio-economic development at the grassroots level. The document is here. We prepared, since we knew that the rural areas were left out of the development process in the state, the present administration prepared what we call the Rural Development Master Plan, which takes care of all the 2,240 communities in Akwa Ibom State. A team of planning officers were selected with some politicians to visit each of the communities to identify their needs, the infrastructural deficiency, and all those things are documented in the booklet so that it will help us to implement the project according to their needs and according to their comparative advantages. The 30-year plan, which will be focused on industrialization, will extend this development statewide, will have industrialization as its main focus, as a means to generate employment and create wealth for the citizenry. The state has remained for so long a civil service state. Now it requires a reorientation of the mindset of the populace to make them realize that they can move away from the dependence on the government to become self-reliant and even providing employment to others. The attainment of the goal of this plan will help to raise an enterprising people and build an economy that will break out from current limitation based on attitude and mindset, halt and reverse the tide of poverty and its corresponding effects on the state economy, lay a solid foundation in physical infrastructure and human capital for long-term socioeconomic transformation, link the state to global resources and opportunities, and enthrone best practices as an abiding principle of governance. Overarching goals and objectives. The predominant goal of this plan will be to harness the human and natural resources in the state and create sustainable means of livelihood for the people of the state. This will not only make them self-sufficient and less dependent, but will also move the state towards becoming an industrial hub in the region and indeed in the entire country. What we have noticed here is that fact that the state has launched an industrial roadmap which will ensure orderly industrialization of the state and also provide holistic guide to potential investors who are willing to come and invest in the state. The roadmap recognizes the universal preconditions of the industrialization, which includes, among others, the existence of a vibrant middle class of entrepreneur, appropriate and enabling institutional environment which is conducive to growth and investment through PPP. The stage has therefore already been set for the successful implementation of the 30-year-old plan. Still on the goals and objectives. The goal of this plan is in line with the vision of the state, which is to transform Akwa Ibom State into a prosperous, highly educated, technological-driven, ethnically harmonious, caring and pace-setting state in Nigeria. This will be achieved through the formulation and implementation of strategic policies and programs for achieving these attributes and for assisting individual institutions and communities achieve their optimum potentials. It is also in line with the 5-point agenda of the present administration, which is wealth creation, economic and political inclusion, poverty alleviation, infrastructural consolidation and expansion, and job creation. To boost production by local businesses to 80% from current level by mid-term of the plan through the promotion of trade, commerce, and tourism between the state and the rest of the world. To develop the Ibom industrial city to complement government efforts in the creation of enduring structure for employment generation by strengthening the industrial base of the state through the development of a mega industrial city called Liberty Free Trade Zone and 2 mini Ekis industrial parks, which will provide conducive environment for rapid industrialization by 2024. To set up 31 new industry, 1 per LGA, and maintain existing ones in the oil and gas, information technology, as well as agro-industrial sector by 2029. Still on the goals and objectives. To increase the state IGR to 4 billion Naira monthly by 2029 through the broadening and expansion of the state revenue base, as well as harnessing revenue on landed properties. To encourage and sustain small and medium-scale enterprises through the development of the efficient and sustainable microcredit framework as part of the wealth creation and employment generation strategy by 2020. Still on the goals. To employ effective public-private partnership strategy to provide needed industrial infrastructure development by attracting 5 potential investors and donor agencies per year to invest in the relevant and key sectors of the state economy and undertake robust human capital development. At the end of the planned period, 80% of the rural population is to be provided with easy access to good quality, affordable, and functional healthcare services at the grassroots level. Here, currently, the governor has renovated all the secondary health facilities. He's now on the primary health facilities to provide durable and affordable shelter to the citizens of the state and encourage 70% ownership by citizens by the end of the plan. Still on the goal, to pursue increased foreign exchange revenue from airplane maintenance and other aviation services by completing the cargo and maintenance, repair, and overhauling MRL facility in Akwa Ibom International Airport by 2021. That is ongoing. To stimulate the agriculture and agro-like industry to boost production of local farmers to 90% from current level by mid-term of the plan to ensure food sufficiency for local consumption, exports, as well as provision of raw material for the industries. To build capacity of 50% of the workforce to acquire basic and work relevant to ICT skill by 2022. To achieve 70% ICT literacy among the literate population by 2029. And use ICT science and technology for employment generation and wealth creation. To increase investment in human capital by 20% annually for the first 5 years of the plan. Variables. There is a strong political will to drive the implementation of the long-term plan. Our governor is always willing and ready to support the development of planning documents and the implementation. That is why we've come with most of the documents that I've mentioned here, that are there on our desks. This is evident in the fact that the state government has launched and put to use 2 frameworks that will pave the way for the long-term plan of industrialization to take off. They are the industrial roadmap I have mentioned earlier, which will ensure orderly industrialization of the states and also provide a holistic guide to potential investors. And Akwa Ibom State Rural Development Master Plan, which aims at further driving socioeconomic development at the grassroots. Still on variables. Additionally, the 2019 budget is creating, which is currently in session now in the State House of Assembly, is creating industrialization for poverty alleviation. This shows that industrialization is a major focus of this administration. The state is governed democratically, and leaders are chosen solely by the state actors. Thus, government policies, social, economic, every sectoral policies becomes a state affairs, although limited by the constitution of the federal government. Development plans and budgets are developed and implemented purely by the state, and so will be derived from the focus of the long-term plan. The state workforce is large, diversified, and qualitative, enough to drive the implementation of the plan. Development priorities are purely state affairs. The state IGR is growing and promising, averaging 2 billion monthly. Before, we were using manual approach in the collection of IGR in my state, but this year, the whole system has been automated. That has grown the IGR to 20 billion just within a few months. So we are hoping it will increase as we go 2 billion. The state is still the highest contributor of oil and gas to the Federation account and enjoys the highest derivation revenue. Challenges. Key challenges. Dependence on federal governments for approval and licensing of a number of state potentials to unlock her economy in oil and gas, aviation, deep sea ports, inland waterways, electric power and related investment, etc. At times, it causes delay in the implementation of plan in my state because you have to get approval for some of these projects from the federal government. The state still depends on the statutory allocation from the federal account. Even the VAT that should accrue to the state is harvested by the federal government and redistributed. The internal security of the state still depends on the federal government. Still on challenges. Investors to the state are dependent upon the immigration and expatriate rules and regulations and some tax policies of federal government. Export of the state depends on federal government rejuvenation. Another key challenge that will exert pressure on the long-term development process of Akwa Ibom State is the issue of land and land use. Currently, we are having issue of land fragmentation. But if Akwa Ibom State, with a population of 6.2 million, has a land area of just 7,249 square meters and a potential density of 658 per square meter, occupy less than 1% of the total arable lands in the Federation, precisely 0.85. The scenario places great responsibility on our land use planning and land management capabilities. At our present growth of 3.4 per annum, the population of the state in the next 20 years may get to the level where citizens may not find land to build residential houses, let alone industry. Collaboration and coordination plan. The state will adopt a highly participatory and inclusive model which brings together ministry, department, agencies, CSO, and private sector. An interministerial and intersectoral committee chaired by the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Development will be constituted by His Excellency, the Executive Governor of the state. This committee will also have as members representatives of local government councils, CSO, the private sector, and development partners working in the state. The committee will develop and plan through consultation and research, especially with the states that have completed their 30-year-old plan, desk review of relevant documents, and submission of MDAs and private sectors. Material gathered will be collated by the drafting committee made up of staff of the Ministry of Economic Development, where also international cooperation domicile. On producing the phase draft, this document will be sent to the Interministerial Committee for approval, for checking and correction. Then when they check and correct, they will send it back to the drafting committee, who will now put the correction together. On presenting the second draft, they will now take it to his governor for assessment and approval. When the governor will approve it, he will take it to the House of Assembly to also deliberate. But before this document is submitted to the governor, a public forum will be held, made up of every citizen in the state will be represented, even the CSO, the development partners, everybody, to be open to even the people outside the state to come and deliberate and make their input and correction into the plan before it will be passed to the governor. Resources and implementation plan. Funding and co-funding option and resources are statutory allocation from FAC, internally generated revenue, loans, grants, PPP arrangement, private capital, foreign direct investment. Resource and implementation plans continues. Enacting PPP law for Akwa Ibom State and establishing Law Bureau of Public Procurement, as well as strengthening the Akwa Ibom State Efficiency Department. Ensure competition in service provision by stakeholders to enhance value for money and excellent service delivery to the state, and right price, at the right price, right time, right quality, right beneficiary at the right income. Resource and implementation plan continues. Carry out reforms in public finance management in the areas of fiscal responsibility, anti-corruption, transparency, public procurement reforms, and reforms in the methods of audit of public expenditure. Sustainability plan. The nurturing of the entrepreneurs class in the state will create wealth for citizens of the state, while promoting and supporting industries will generate employment. The combined effect of wealth creation and employment generation will bring about poverty reduction and also improve the standard of living and quality of life of the citizens. Women and youth will not be left out, as they will be empowered with opportunities of skill acquisition and entrepreneurial culture. Still on sustainable plan. The implementation of the plan will assist in the attainment of all the 70 SDGs, especially number 1 to 12, 16, and number 17, as listed below. Expected outcome and impact. The overall expected impact of this is that it will facilitate rapid economic growth, job, and wealth creation. The successful implementation of this plan will cause more industry to be established, and this will further move the state towards achieving aforementioned goals and becoming a self-reliant state with a competitive edge of the state economy within the national economy. Massive industrialization and engagement in PPP ventures will also help to diversify the state economy and reduce the state dependence on federal allocation and dwindling oil resources. This expected outcome has been divided into short-term and long-term outcome and impact. For the short-term outcome, development of homegrown technology in various areas such as agriculture and food production and processing, agricultural value chain development, reduction in resilience in imported goods and services, revolution of cottage industry, transformation of local craftsmen into well-organized industries. Long-term outcome and impact. It will boost the production of alternative energy from solar to gas. Akwa Ibom becomes an economic growth pole and industrial hub for the zone and country. Reduction in imported goods and into the country. Preservation of environment for sustainable socio-economic development. In conclusion, the government of Akwa Ibom State has taken bold steps to invest in the security, infrastructural, and industrial development to set the stage for faster and sustained economic growth and development in the state. The state has operated with short and medium-term plans in the past. These short and medium-term plans, though useful at that time of implementation, have not served the state long enough. That is why we need a long-term plan now. It is believed that a long-term plan will serve as a roadmap for successive administration to build on, irrespective of party affiliation. If backed by legislation, it will be binding on successive administration to implement. The implementation of the 30-year-old plan will also assist in short and medium-term planning, since the long-term focus is already spelled out and will therefore ensure policy consistency and sustainability in development to rapidly transform the state. Here, immediately this long-term plan is produced, all the short-term plan and medium-term plan will be derived from the long-term plan. So this will help to maintain the sustainability and achievements of the long-term plan. And if we are finally given the opportunity to produce a long-term plan, Akwa Ibom State will be moved from the land of promise, which was then in 1987, to the land of exceptional opportunities. Thank you so much for listening.